Hey everybody, my name is Bernie Dake, and today we get to talk about auxiliary percussion. This is a passion of mine, particularly because I really believe that a lot of times we, as music leaders, often put instruments in the hands of percussionists in particular that haven't been properly trained in how to play them. This is not a slight towards anybody when we're pulling out the latest, greatest piece and it's got Clavis and Kabasa and a Vibra Slap and all kinds of instruments. We just buy them up and pass them out. But the fact is, our young people haven't probably been trained properly how to play them, and this is a passion of mine. Let me just read this sort of introduction and give you an idea of what we're talking about. Today we're going to cover triangle, tambourine, kabasa, clave, jingle or sleigh bells, woodblock, cowbell, various shakers, and crash cymbals, or piatti, the Italian word. The reason we're doing this is specifically because I don't believe we do a good job as music educators to equip you, the percussionist, whoever might be watching, hoping to play these correctly. I don't think we do a good job of equipping you to play them properly. Two quick examples for me are triangles and any shakers that we play. Both of these instruments can destroy the feeling of a piece, and in the case of shakers, can cause a train wreck for the tempo, as an example. So we're going to keep this open just in case this is your first Zoom class with us. We just want to ask you to go ahead and mute your microphone. There'll be a time for questions, and you can definitely ask questions. You can use the raise your hand feature, or if you need to, you just have a burning question, just unmute and ask, and we'll stop and take a listen. First thing we're going to talk about today is the triangle. This is a fairly simple instrument, right? It's called a triangle because it has three sides, hence the word triangle. This particular instrument is just a triangle made by someone named Alan Abel, and there's nothing special. I would just say to music educators, you may notice that the triangle has an opening here, and to percussionists, we have a standard sort of triangle holder. We're just going to keep that there, and I prefer playing the instrument on the bottom or on the side away from the opening. And the reason I say that is because I've been playing for a little while, and the truth is you often find the best sound, which can be a lot of overtones at the bottom, or more of a clear, clean sound on the side. I'm hoping desperately that you hear that difference. So what we're hearing is overtones or multiple sounds on the bottom. It might even sound lower to you than on the side opposite the opening. So that's what I like to call a nice clean sound. In this case, the triangle has a number of ways that it can be played. What I've just done is used a sort of standard all-purpose thin little beater, and I'm just striking it. This is normally done in time, whatever the music requires. You may notice as I'm holding it, I'm not actually touching the triangle until I need to mute it, and that's when I use my hands. I like to hold the triangle up when I'm playing so that the conductor can see that I'm prepared to play the part, and then I can strike with the conductor's motion. Now, the triangle has multiple volumes like any instrument we can play, and what I would suggest is there's all kinds of kits out there that have all these different sizes. You can have a triangle built by the hammer of Thor. That's out of focus, right? There it is. The hammer of Thor, or just a rather large striker, as opposed to a rather small striker. And sometimes you're required to play a roll with a triangle. And with us, it's the old dinner bell routine where you might just rack it around on the inside. Come and get it! Or you can actually put the triangle on a music stand, which is often the case when we're playing in ensembles and there's not many percussionists. So I'm going to try to make this as high as I can get it for the camera. and turn it so you can see it. Whoops, there we go. And if I were to try to do a two-strike roll, I might just keep both mallets right here on the base of the triangle. We'll do it this way. Base of the triangle, and play a single stroke roll. Now this is very elementary approach to triangle playing, and it's very important that you understand when I say a triangle can kind of cause a train wreck, because of its bright percussive nature, it's going to cut through the band. So when you're asked to play a specific triangle part, you might be, in the case of a brass band, you may be accenting something the soprano cornet player is playing. You might be at a musical sort of emotional moment that's out in the open, and the composer has asked for the strike of a triangle to indicate something that's happening in the music. So it's often an exposed instrument, and once you play it, you're not going to be able to get that sound back. It will be heard. So I've asked Chris to show you some musical examples. This first one is going to be from Bill Broughton. William Broughton was a Salvation Army composer of many years. He was actually here in the Southern Territory for some time, but he wrote a great trombone solo called Take Up Thy Cross, which is sort of a staple in Salvation Army literature. Very simple ballad of the tune, Take Up Thy Cross and Follow Me. And at section D, you might be able to see that he's indicated for triangle. This is written on the top space of the bass clef staff in this case. And above each of the notes, there are two symbols. There's a plus sign and a circle. And as you may note at the bottom of the piece, he says where the circle is indicated, he wants the triangle to be played open. And where there's a plus sign indicated, he wants it closed. So if we were counting this way, 2, 3, 4, letter D might sound like this. 2, 3, 4, 1. 4, 1. 4, 1. 4, 1. Take up thy cross and follow thee. Now, I'm going to ask Chris to come back to the camera so you can see all I am doing is literally playing the triangle open and closed as it suggested. So letter D on beat 2 were 2 eighth notes tied to a half note that were closed and then opened. So I struck it this way. 2, 3, 4, 1. And really all I'm doing is getting my hand on the triangle to physically mute it unless it's required to be open. And then just like any other instrument in the ensemble, our notes have value, rhythmic value. And when they're asked to let ring or they have a tied symbol to another note, you of course want to give it the full value. In the section after letter D, I think it was letter E, you saw eighth notes that look like this. Open, followed by 3 closed notes. So it's not really rocket science for us, but I would suggest that as you're playing, in particular, I'm showing the conductor that I'm ready to play the notes, and I'm playing them while either watching him and my music and my peripheral vision, or vice versa. It's just important that you stay in time, because rhythmically you can really derail the tempo of a piece if you're not really following what the conductor's doing. Now, that's if we're playing it with our hands in a handheld situation, you might say. I'll bring the music stand back just for a second and turn it up, hoping that you can see it. Another way to do it, if you're unable to remove it from the stand, perhaps because you have to get to another piece or you're playing another instrument in the same piece, would just be leave it on a stand in front of you, preferably between the conductor and you, your music somewhere close by so you can follow everything that's happening and simply strike it. This isn't rocket science. It's just something that's important for us to understand. If you were to note that that piece was written at mezzo piano, at letter D and E, we wouldn't want to use the hammer of Thor. It's really not that kind of piece. So it requires us to use proper selection, proper technique, and all this goes into the musicality of being an auxiliary percussionist. Now, one more thing about the triangle that I want to show off to you guys. Musical theater is a very popular medium, particularly in the United States. And when you play percussion in a musical theater, like perhaps high school or college, or maybe you want to go on into the pits of Broadway, you'll often have to play many instruments on the same piece on the fly, and music doesn't stop. So there's a man named Billy Miller who's created something called the Miller Machine. This is literally just a device that holds a triangle on a stand, or a music stand in this case. It has a mounted beater, and you can play it on the fly. So I might have to play a tambourine part, and you can accomplish both things. This is not an ideal instrument. This is a lazy way to play the triangle, but if you find yourself in a situation where you want to cover as many parts as possible, this is one way to accomplish it. These devices, these inventions, are somewhere in the neighborhood of $19 to $30, and they're really great. The triangle is not included, but it's a fun way to kind of have something at the ready, and in this case it's just a triangle off to the side somewhere. Now, in the case of the Salvation Army's Territorial Band, we have normally carry 4 percussionists, and even then, with 4 percussionists, some of the latest Salvation Army literature has a need for many things happening at once, that even 4 people can't get to every part with maybe what you'd say proper technique, meaning it's not always feasible to pick up the triangle and play it because you've got to get to something else. So we actually purchased the Miller Machine in the hopes that we could tackle some of those rare incidences. And if you met my friend Brad yesterday, he'll be the first to tell you he doesn't love playing that because you lose the technique and the touch of actually striking the instrument with a beater. And that's the thing. It's just a convenient tool. It's one more, one more piece of tool in the toolbox that you can use. So that's the Miller Machine and the triangle. I think that's probably all we can tell you about the triangle, and maybe more than you ever thought. But if you're a music educator or someone who wants to get into percussion in general, these things are so important for our young people and our performers to understand. Really important. Next thing we're going to talk about is tambourines. Now, by far, the tambourine is probably the one instrument that could really take an ensemble right off course when you get an exuberant player kind of giving it all they can. And we have 2 types of tambourine that we play in the music that we make at the Salvation Army. Now, most people will associate 3 types of tambourines if you include a timbrel. The timbrel is an instrument that goes back into the Salvation Army's, really the founding of the Salvation Army, as a way to attract people to the open air and the message that would be contained at that evangelical opportunity. But the kind of tambourines that we're dealing with today are really just more for making music, not choreographing music or trying to draw people in per se. So I would say to you that there's basically 2 types. This is what we kind of refer to as a rock tambourine because it has no membrane, no head, and it's really just half of an instrument, which makes it easy to grab a hold of. And we often play it like this. It's just a simple instrument. It's got this particular brand, has a piece of rubber around it that protects your hand from the constant hitting of the palm. It can be shook, simple beats. You can put it on your knee if you needed to and play it very rhythmically. There are also mounts that allow you to place the tambourines, again, on a stand for convenience. There are a couple pieces that the territorial band plays that require the tambourine and the snare drum to be played either simultaneously or right back to back with each other. And so we bought a mount that allows the person playing snare drum to also cover the tambourine part, which is a great way to accomplish both things and not have to task another player who's covering something else with that responsibility. The second tambourine that we talk about and use often in music making with the Salvation Army in particular is a standard concert tambourine. This particular instrument has 2 rows of jingles. It has a head or a membrane, the classic finger hole for the timbrelists. We don't actually use that hole much, at least to hold the tambourine, but that is an indicator of where we can grab the tambourine because there's no jingles there. So it's often held with one hand. If you were to just play this instrument without the jingles, it has sort of like a really bad tom-tom sound. So often we play it by placing our hand on the side without the jingles and keeping our fingers on the head, which then allows us to actually tighten the instrument by pressing in on the head. Right? So we go from this sound where my fingers are not on the head to this sound. So it's a little brighter, it's a lot more crisp perhaps, and this instrument can be shook, it can be struck with the palm of your hand, it can be struck with the knuckles for loud playing. It's often played with the fingertips. Also, maybe one of my favorite parts of the written tambourine music is when you're asked to make very precise rolls. And we perform that with a thumb or a finger. I use my thumb, and we have a couple exercises I'd like to show you. The first one Chris is going to pull up for us is something that you will see as you have an opportunity to make music, and I would tell you more about it. This is from our American Instrumental Ensemble series. At bar, 6 bars after rehearsal number 11 there, you can see there's a triangle written on the top line on the 3rd beat, and then there's a roll. Now this could be played 2 ways. I don't see a volume indication except that there's a forte at the beginning of the piece, and where the triangle comes in, there's a diminuendo. So we'll say, let's suggest that this might be at a mezzo forte. We might play 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it might be this way with our thumb. 1, 2. Now, for me, that was really not good. So one way to tackle that might be to slow down the pace of the roll so that you're getting more time on the drum. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. The idea is you want to make it as accurate as possible. Again, just like the triangle, keeping your head up, watching the conductor. The music should be between you and the conductor, so it's at least in your peripheral vision. And you are holding the instrument in a way that they know you're prepared to play it, and it allows you to keep time with whatever is happening with the conductor, in this case in 3. Okay? So those are the 2 different types of tambourines. We have one more music example that I want to show you. This is example number 3, Chris. For us, perhaps another well-known composer, Steve Bulla with the Salvation Army, grew up in the Salvation Army. He has written this piece, again, for our American Instrumental Ensemble series. This requires just a simple no roll type tambourine, and I immediately think this says at rehearsal number 9, tambourine, tap with hand at mezzo forte. So I might think this way: 1, 2, 3, 1. Very straightforward. It doesn't really get any easier than that. But if you go down to 26, it literally says tambourine at forte. There are eighth notes written, and there are accents on 2 and 4. Now it's not really left to guess how you're going to play this. If you were to play it with sticks, you would certainly be able to just simply go right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, or left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. You can see the rhythm, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and where the accents are. But how would you play that on a tambourine? And I would suggest there's 2 ways. You could either do it, depending on the tempo, with one hand, or the sound he's probably going for is that old rock and roll sound, which sounds like this. And that's really easy to achieve just simply by waving the tambourine back and forth, but really hitting the palm of the opposite hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, wherever those accents are. But either way, the same tambourine, the conductor, the music, everything's in line, head up, really trying to stick with the tempo that they're dictating to us as musicians so that we don't derail the band. I hope that makes sense. If there's any questions about triangle or tambourine playing in general, let's ask them now, just so we don't go too far the other way, and then we can address those and keep going.
Hi, I have a question.
Okay.
I've seen on some drum sets there's a hi-hat on there's like a tambourine on the hi-hat.
Yeah.
Where would you just hit the hi-hat, make the tambourine sound?
Tucker, it's a great question. There's an instrument, I think there's a couple companies that make an instrument that it's a tambourine that's just a single row of jingles, and there's a post in the middle that allows you to screw it on to the pole of the hi-hat stand. And when you close your foot, that sound of the hi-hat chick and the tambourine happen together, and it gives you this like cool little effect. That's one sound that it makes. Or you can actually reach up and hit the tambourine type device with a stick. So it gives you a couple options there. Now those instruments are generally you don't want to strike them too hard, so it wouldn't be best for the rock and roll type playing. It's more of an effect. They tend to bend. I've seen a lot of different models. And if you hit these jingles too hard, you can actually do some damage to them, and it'll keep them from jingling freely. But there are some great instruments out there, and it's a cool sound if you're playing drum set. I hope you've signed up for some private lessons this week, and if you haven't, particularly if you're interested in drum set, Chris Hoffer is a beast on the drum set, and he's got some time open, so make sure you check that out because he can talk about different techniques with you in particular. Any other questions about triangle or tambourine?
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
So I've seen some people do a tambourine, like the rock tambourine thing where you're waving it and then, accent on 2 and 4. I've seen some people do like the shake like this, like they're rotating their wrist. Is there a difference between those 2 styles?
Well, it's a great question, Josh, because as we've had an opportunity to travel, not just around kind of the Southeast where we're based, but seeing different cultural practices in South America, the Caribbean. We have an officer in the South named Tammy Hewitt. Tammy's married name, Tammy Hewitt.
Ellis,
that's it. Sorry, I totally forgot. She can play a tambourine with all these different subdivisions and accents, and there's just the joy of the Lord coming out of her. And it's all where she puts her hand and how she turns her wrist. I would suggest to you that I've learned the back and forth is the most rhythmically accurate. But if you're doing this way, it gets really hard for me to find the accent. But there's no discernible rhythm there. So I like this. It's real clean. That's just an opinion, not necessarily the views of the Salvation Army or its affiliates. Okay, let's move on. If there's no other questions, or save them until we get to the end. Another instrument that's really popular in not just Latin music, but it's making its way into all kinds of music making in the Salvation Army in particular, really music making, period, are the claves. The claves are a great instrument. Another reason you might want to consider taking a lesson this week, if you can get one with Chris, because Chris is the son of Salvation Army officers who were stationed in South America, and he was exposed to some music as a young man that really kind of shaped some of his internal clock, in a sense. And the bossa nova is one of those patterns that we teach. It's very popular. Some people think about the song "The Girl from Ipanema" as a bossa sort of staple. But let me just talk to you about the instrument first. Basically, you'll see a lot of these around. These are two pieces of basically wood that are laying around somewhere that someone says, "Here, play the pattern." And the problem is the wood has different sounds. There's often, the way I was taught, a mama and a papa. But in this day and age, let's call it, there's a low and a high sound, okay? So you might have that sound or this sound. And this sound doesn't really sing. So we tend to put the low one on the hand. This is just, I'm not holding it in my hand. I'm holding it on basically my nail bed. I don't know how to show that to you. It's not being held or grasped. It's really just resting on my fingernails. And then you simply play the higher pitched instrument on it. A lot of people like Hamilton these days because it's been released on Disney Plus, or a lot of people know about the musical theater piece In the Heights by the same writers, the same creative team. The opening of that entire musical is just that sound. I've got some musical examples to show you, but in general, just think high-low, get the sound that sounds the cleanest to you, which I find is often the lowest on the bottom. How to hold them, just simply keeping that on your nail bed. And then lastly, just general playing. This is a Christmas piece. This is right out of our Christmas praise books, the books that we would take out on kettles. I don't know if a lot of people are taking bells out or percussion when they do small ensembles at the kettle time, but certainly when you're doing some Christmas concerts, this is a great way to do it. The back of the piece we have the Virgin Mary had a baby boy, and the bottom of this top stave simply says claves. You may think it's claves, but it's pronounced claves. And the rhythm for us at, if you think 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 would be 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's if we just play the page there. But the Virgin Mary had a baby boy. Now, I'm not really great at singing and playing at the same time, but that rhythm is just repeated over and over again in music, particularly in the bossa sound, of course. We consider that a bossa nova or an ostinato, where it just keeps repeating. And when you learn to play that on a drum set, it's a pretty cool way to keep the time going and the body moving, keep the energy going in the right direction. Very straightforward. I see a lot of times when we're at music conservatories or a weekend divisional band practice or something where kids might be playing it by holding them. Of course, it doesn't make a great sound, right? You don't hit the tops. You literally just lay it on the bed of your fingernails. And this sound, again, a percussive sound, is going to make it to the audience pretty fast. So once you strike it, it's going to be heard. You don't have to worry about overplaying or playing too loud. You're going to be heard over the band, that's for sure. So that's the claves, and probably one of the coolest instruments to play for me because it's just really groovy, really just laid back sound. But no one ever teaches us how to play it. The next thing we're going to talk about is the Jingle Bells or the Sleigh Bells. Now, normally, if we were in a live setting, I would say, show of hands, who's ever had to play the Jingle Bells? And inevitably, if you're at your home church or your home corps as Salvationists and you're playing in the band, at Christmas time, you're going to play a piece that requires you to pick up some Jingle Bells. Now, I've seen them as sort of a children's toy where it's just maybe like a single line that you can wrap on your wrist and shake. But oftentimes we buy the sleigh bells or the jingle bells. They look like this, very straightforward. There's a handle here. They can either be shaken or they can be pounded, literally. They don't often stop ringing, so this can be really distracting in a quiet time if you try to pick these up. But one of the things that we like to do when we're playing with a lot of different percussion instruments is have trap tables around, and I've just destroyed this music stand here. Put this back on super quick. The trap tables allow us to put the instruments in a place where we can grab them as fast as possible and get them into a playing position. In my case, the Jingle Bells still need to be played rhythmically accurate. So at the beginning of Christmas Spirit, the band plays basically a major scale up and down. Somewhere in that piece, at that tempo, 1, 2, 3, 4, there's an opportunity for Jingle Bells to just be played as eighth notes. Now, if you just shake them, 1, 2, 3, 4, they maybe don't have a discernible rhythm. So I like there to be a discernible rhythm, which either needs to be achieved by pushing and pulling. 3, 4, 1, 1. Or another way to play it is either way, you want to make sure that, again, head up, following the conductor. I cannot say that enough times. And playing the rhythm that is written. We do have a musical example that I'd like to show you. This is something that we pulled down, again, from one of our Christmas Spirit pieces. The Southern Territories produced a book of 16 Christmas selections. If you are if you have an opportunity to play in an ensemble of 4 or 5 players with optional percussion, you could pull off a lot of these pieces. But here at rehearsal, 2 bars before 7, at forte, we were asked to play this rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Notice the diminuendo, and unfortunately the sound keeps going even though there's nothing left for me to play on beat 4, before bar 7. So play it rhythmically accurate, play with dynamics and contrast. That's important because that's where the music really comes from, all those little details. Now we go on to rehearsal number 21, and we have eighth notes written for Sleigh Bells. I see no accents. I see the courtesy counting for us, so we can keep our head up, knowing that this repeats for 9 bars. And on bar 9, there's a decrescendo to piano, finishing on beat 1. I'm going to play this whole passage, which will sound funny to you, but I want you to understand it's so important that we play as accurately as we would want anyone else in the ensemble to play. You are equally important. And frankly, I would say that your job is a little easier than some of the other players who are worrying about intonation and rhythm and the contrast that's related. And in this case, on a pair of sleigh bells or on this instrument, you're really just worrying about rhythm and contrast. Okay, so let's do this. This is bar 21. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 2, 3, and 5, 6, but it's important to play. I didn't overplay. Mezzo forte is just a comfortable sound, and all I was doing was 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 2 and 3 and 4. If you were to try to shake it, you may not hear the rhythm as well. So hold it straight up and down and simply get some rhythm going. It's a great instrument, and it's something that, again, can derail the band if you're not really playing in time. Let's go to something else. This is what it's called the afuche or the Kabasa. Now, I don't know if a lot of you have access to a lot of these toys, but this is made by a company called Latin Percussion. It's well worn because we've had this around for some time. And it's literally called the afuche or a Kabasa. This is something that people write for because it has a very distinctive scratch sound. I'm going to show you how to hold it and the different ways that it can be played. So again, not rocket science. There is a handle. I'm holding the handle. This bed of what looks like ball bearings, or sort of like a necklace of these ball bearings, are wrapped around a piece of like tin foil or tin. When it's in my hands, I can just turn my wrist. That's just a scrape or a scratch sound. I'm just simply twisting my wrist. You can also shake this instrument. It's very, very light, but in a very soft passage, that can be a beautiful tool to establish rhythm. We talked about doing a tap sound. I'm achieving rhythm by tapping with my hand or my fingers, and I'm twisting. And then the last one is we tap, shake, rub, twist. You can see people, I'm taking it apart. In fact, this one is coming completely apart. If you see someone play this well and play it professionally, you will notice that they can throw it in the air and they'll make it spin. I've been playing in the Salvation Army. I've been making music since I was 7 years old, which means 43 years. Never once have I been asked to do that. But if I had to, I might go to YouTube University and check out how that might be done. This literally came apart while we were playing, Chris. We probably need to add this to Josh's list of things to fix. A little inside joke there. That's the afuche or the Kabasa, and that has a similar sound to the next thing that I'm going to talk about, and perhaps the one thing that the guys in the band tease me about the most. You all probably get asked to play shakers. There's all kinds of shakers. I got a plastic shaker. I got another plastic shaker with two cannon-like things. I got a metal shaker. I got maracas that act as shakers or sound like shakers. How many people have ever been in a class to play maracas professionally? Anybody? Yeah, me neither. No one's ever really showed me necessarily how to play maracas professionally, but I would suggest to you that there is a way to play any of these instruments properly. And I've got some notes I'm just going to read so I make sure to cover these things. These are certainly my favorite instruments to play rhythmically in the band. I talked about I love to play the Clavis because it's such a groovy instrument, but I really love playing the shaker because it really does take over the sound of the rhythm aspect of the band in particular. This metal shaker has been in my life since 2005, and it's a very loud sound. So I'm shaking it in time. You can shake it fast, side to side, to like Josh was talking about with the tambourine. But in general, I keep it horizontal so the beads are evenly distributed throughout, or the shot that's inside. The metal shaker has a very bright sound. This is a plastic shaker. That could be pretty harsh. Or there's this sound. And that's a much smaller shot inside. It's almost like heavy sand in a sense. Depending on what you're asked to play, and we are going to show you a musical example in just a second, you'll have to decide which shaker is best for you. But these are maracas. And maracas, believe it or not, used to be played by people who were dancing first only. They weren't really played as sort of a written out musical part. It was just to attract attention. But eventually, I mean, composers obviously realized the value of that instrument rhythmically. And there's just shots inside. And it's usually played by holding them in this position, so you're able to bring them up and down. I've seen percussionists with rock and roll bands or pop bands play them by holding them together. What they're going for there is loud. They really want to cut through the sound of the guitars and the other instruments. I hope you can hear the difference. It's just significantly louder. And the thing about it is, no matter what happens, when there's music to be played, rhythmically it has to be done right. So Chris, let's pull up the example that we pulled. This is number 6. When I was a younger guy living in the Washington, D.C. area, I met a teenager named Phil Lager who wrote a song called I Surrender. And our territorial music secretary, my boss, Nick Simmons-Smith, wrote an arrangement of Phil's song, I Surrender, with the original tune that we associate with the words to I Surrender All. And at rehearsal number 13, there's a piano shaker that's written. There are no accents. So this was literally to be performed this way. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2. While that's happening, the band is playing a melody to the words, I surrender my life to your blood. I surrender my name for your glory. I surrender my heart to your will. I surrender my dreams to the plans you have for me. Thank you for showing me the emptiness of all I held on to. I surrender my life. I surrender my everything to you. In a sense, the musical wordplay is less of me. There's no accents. It's piano. It's not, we're not having to show off. It's literally played. But if you had seen accents, if you had seen subdivisions, if you had seen rolls, of course, you would play it rhythmically accurately because that's what the music dictates. I point that piece out to you in particular because while it's a slow piece, it's meditative in a sense. It's written for a soloist. In the case of the Territorial Band recording, Daryl Crossland plays it. And Daryl's their soprano player of many years who also plays this on flugelhorn. And when the band went to record this, I remember there's many parts written for the percussion section, and we needed to bring in another person to play some of those parts. So Robert Snelson, who is the flugel player with the Territorial Band, came back to the percussion section during that piece and helped us play some of those parts. So you don't need an education in percussion to play things properly, but you need a little bit of experience, at least rhythmically, and certainly any number of our instrumentalists would be able to play rhythmically accurately. The technique that comes with the specific instrument, of course, comes in time, but that's the shaker, and it's important that you understand what's happening when a shaker is out and about. Two more things. If you're still with me, if you're not asleep, I have to show you the Vibra Slap. Now, I didn't give you any musical examples, but I will share this instrument with you very quickly. This is a Vibra Slap. There are three pieces I can think of that we play a lot, particularly in Salvation Army music making, that require the sound of a Vibra Slap. This is actually to mimic the sound of shaking of a donkey jawbone, the jawbone of a donkey. And one of our music directors in Oklahoma, Andrew Barrington, writes a lot of music specifically for percussion instruments like this, and he does a lot of research. This instrument has these little rattles that are built in inside. I don't know if you can't really see them, they get blurry. They're inside of this echo chamber. Then there's a ball attached to this metal piece that has an adjustable wing nut that allows you to loosen this or tighten this. Now, I've seen a lot of people flip this over and they play it on their leg. That's cool if you like bruising. If you don't like bruising and you want to play it properly, it's really meant to simply be held two ways. Your hand around the bar, which means it can fall out, but allows you to really grasp tightly and change how rigid this ball can freely vibrate. If your hand were inside like this, now this instrument is really free to sing, and you can allow it to ring forever. So if you're ever asked to play a Vibra Slap and someone puts this in your hand, just take a second, make sure that it's not going to fall apart on you and that it's sort of tight, because you can simply twist this loose. And when it's loose, it doesn't want to sing. But when it's tight and you hold it properly, strike that ball, it can ring for some time. And it's a really cool effect, particularly if you're trying to attract attention, maybe at the intermission and you want people to come back in, or if you're doing an open air and you're playing a Latin piece. There's often a break in the band where the Vibra Slap has to be played immediately in that break. And we often kind of play it with some fanfare where we hold it up for people to see where it's coming from. Now, I'm not much of a showman, but I would suggest to you that from an evangelical point of view, if you're trying to attract attention, sometimes those things are okay. But in general, keep everything sort of under control, always watching the bandmaster, making sure you're ready to play at the specified time in the music, and you too will be a good Vibra Slap player. Last thing, and then questions, and then wow, our time is already gone. We're going to look at the crash cymbals real quick, how to hold them, how to strike them, how to mute them, because this is definitely something you might get asked to play but have never been told to properly. I'm holding a cymbal that has a strap attached to it. The strap is literally tied in sort of a four-way pattern underneath, and there are 1,000 videos, literally 1,000 videos on YouTube that show you how to do that in case this strap ever comes undone. If you're playing in high school marching band, you might be asked to put your hand through the strap and then your fingers underneath. I have a very large hand, but what that enables you to do is get your hand on it so you're controlling that cymbal with just the grip of your hand, and then if it ever falls free, you'll just open your hand and you got it. That's the first one. The second one, same kind of thing. Get your hand through it, get your fingers underneath it so you're holding it. My hand is freely grabbing that strap, but it's still in the strap. And then the long and short of it for us as percussionists is you have a cymbal that doesn't move and a cymbal that does move. And for me, this is my left hand, which might look like my right hand to you, and this is my right hand. I leave my left hand on a slight angle, so it's not even with my body, it's more this way, just, I don't know, 10 or 15 degrees. I bring the other cymbal in at a much steeper angle, almost 45 degrees, so that I'm creating a flam sound with the cymbals, and then I'm immediately pulling them apart so they can ring. Now close your ears, this could get loud, but it would look like this. If I have to mute them, I simply place them against my body and they stop ringing immediately. Now the reason I'm asking you to make that shape or that sound of the flam is if you were to play these like those toy monkeys that you see in stores, you can create a vacuum, the cymbals will get stuck together, and then you won't be able to get them apart. And I've seen this happen 4 or 5 times over my 15 years here in Atlanta, throughout the South at different events like our Territorial Music Institute. And when that happens, the cymbals can even flip out. They'll bend out in the opposite direction, and you can really ruin what ends up being a few $100s worth of cymbals. This instrument is not the most expensive instrument, but it was still probably about $300. So all the more reason to take care of your instruments. One more time, I just have this one is fixed close to my body, but on a slight angle. This one's on a much steeper angle, and when I bring it in to play it, let's say I'm going to play it on beat 4. 1, 2, 3. It's that simple, but it's necessary, and it's important that you practice those techniques so that you don't ruin the instruments that are being entrusted to you, and so that you can make the most significant musical contribution that you can as a percussionist in the band. I hope that's been helpful to you guys. I'm happy to take any questions, but otherwise, we have a lot more left today, and Chris might have some announcements for you, and there are always opportunities for private lessons throughout the remainder of the week. And all of these videos are available at our YouTube page, which is USS Music and Arts 1 on YouTube. Check it out.
I have a question.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Hey, yeah, just curious what your opinion would be for maybe like smaller church bands that are just starting to have a percussion section with lots of small instruments to play. If say the church wants to save some money, only get a few instruments to start out, what would you say are those definite like small percussion instruments a percussionist or band would need to really start growing a percussion section?
That's a great question. I have actually prepared a document like that when I remember years ago when the ALM Music Conservatory was just being built, the new building, the building that they're in today. And we put a list together for the DMD that kind of gave him an idea of things that he's definitely going to need. So the staples for percussion are bass drum, snare drum, cymbal, period. And at least in the case of the snare drum and the cymbal, you also need a stand. The bass drum can come many different ways, but of course, preferably you'd have it on some sort of stand. Then you get into the auxiliary percussion, and I think what I find most is certainly tambourine and triangle and shaker. And then you get into really specialized instruments. We didn't even talk about woodblock today. We didn't talk about finger cymbals or guiros or whistles. There's so many things that you can really invest in, but certainly bass drum, snare drum, cymbal, triangle, tambourine, shaker is what I find in most concert percussion settings necessary as a place to start. Any other questions? Comments?
All right. Well, thank you, Bernie, for sharing your wisdom. I'm definitely grateful. Bernie has been a huge influence in my life and has definitely been one of the people who has shown me all these techniques. So I consider myself very blessed. I think we'll close in prayer. Again, like Bernie said, we've got the rest of the week. We've got a lot of good stuff lined up. Tomorrow, I'll be teaching a drum set masterclass. On Thursday, Aaron Jackson, who's on this call right now, he'll be teaching a keyboard instrument mallet percussion masterclass. Again, that is a huge weakness for us percussionists, so make sure we check that out. And then on Friday, Nathan Cole will be teaching us proper timpani technique and all things timpani. So we got a good week still ahead of us. Like Bernie said, our YouTube channel is USS Music and Arts 1. So we're going to try and upload these videos as we get them every day, so you can go back and revisit what we've been sharing with you. All right, sign up for a private lesson, check out all the other master classes, and just make the most of this week. So thanks for joining us. I'm going to end with prayer, and then we can move on with our day. All right? Here we go. Heavenly Father, thank you so much just for the opportunity to gather and learn and use the gifts and talents that God has blessed us with to impact how we worship and how we minister. We're just grateful for opportunities to grow, and we pray that as we learn these things, we can continue to share them with others and use them for your glory, Lord. Please bless the rest of this week, our time together, and give us a good rest of the day. Pray this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
See you tomorrow.